the best moment you've seen where the real world hit a spoiled rich kid. I grew up with rich kids and still keep in touch with a few of them. One guy's father owned the most prestigious law firm in town. He said his life changed the moment he called his father from jail the second time it happened. His father said, "Well, sorry to hear you got arrested. Good luck," then hung up. He said getting locked back into his cell was a singular moment that completely turned his life around. That's a good life lesson. Sounds like the dad cares, but wants his son to actually grow up to be a good, successful person. Do you know if he actually turned his life around and got better from there? Somewhat distant relatives spent all of his university years and 20s partying hard with a 100 to 120K allowance his rich company-owning father gave him each year. He traveled the world each year, going to Bali, Thailand, Europe, every year Oktoberfest, just rampaging. At 32 or so, he decided to settle in upscale ski resort area of the US and open a business with his hot gold digger fiancé. When he went to transfer his money to his US bank account, he noticed it only came to a few $1,000s. He angrily asked the bank worker why she hadn't transferred the entire amount, only to be told that that was the entire amount. His father had cut him off without saying anything, and he just hadn't noticed. Absolute flat line. Legendary, mate. I have a similar story. I was raped in my freshman year of college by a senior who slipped something in my drink. Well, I didn't go to the police until it was too late for evidence collection because I was dumb and thought if I had peed, I couldn't get a rape kit. I went to my college Title IX office. Dude got the fanciest lawyer and thought he was untouchable because his family donated and knew the chancellor. I worked my little tushy off to counter his BS claims and show them what he did to me, and he was expelled. He no longer has a fancy degree and can go to one of the top law schools in the country that he was accepted into because now he has no undergrad degree and hurt other women. That's an amazing story. It takes a lot of courage to go through something like that. I was assaulted by someone when I was in the military. This was 20 years ago, and I just never had the guts to report it. I really admire women like you who had the courage to deal with the whole process of seeking justice. Classmate in college failed his course, partied for a year with daddy's money, never studied, ever. Thing is, inheriting his father's construction company, 2 quarries, a fleet of trucks and equipment, depended on him manning up and passing the class. All he had to do was learn the basics of mechanical diagnostic and repair and be set for life. He just needed to pass one class. Talk about wasted opportunities. I had a roommate my freshman year of college that came from an incredibly rich oil family from the Middle East. I remember him having the hardest time adjusting to not having someone else prepare him food. I remember waking up one morning and going to the kitchen and seeing him try to eat eggs and toast he had just prepared himself. He asked me how I normally prepare fried eggs because his tasted really crunchy. Turns out he had just cracked the egg, pulled into the pan, and prepared it shell and all. I couldn't stop laughing, but felt really bad for the dude. Administration and faculty at a university refused a substantial offer of endowment money from a couple that wanted their son enrolled as an art major. Their son couldn't meet the minimum scholastic entrance requirements, and he had little aptitude for art. Still, with their millions, he thought money would buy his way to an easy degree as an art major. He was dumbfounded to receive a notice of non-admittance. I knew a guy in high school who bragged that he didn't have to pay attention in school because his grandfather was a vice president of a corporation that supplied the cardboard for cereal boxes for General Mills. Real gravy train, you know. Last I checked, he was still working at Best Buy 5 years after high school. Same job he had in high school. I don't think my father, the inventor of toaster strudel, would be too pleased with this. Probably on the BBC yesterday, when Prince Andrew got the shit kicked out of him for an hour about his association with Epstein. One of my college roommates told his parents the trip we were planning that they were paying for was $400 more expensive than it was, that he could buy a really nice bomb. In addition, they basically paid for everything he wanted. He had their credit card and ordered food on it at least once daily. He also would make $50 purchases pays off the card pretty regularly. Long story short, they found out that he lied about the cost of the trip. For whatever reason, they still paid and let him go. But after the trip, he could not use their card anymore. This dude acted like he lived the hardest life of all time afterwards, but eventually sucked it up. He actually acts way less entitled now. It ended up having a lasting positive effect for him, even though he wouldn't admit it. I love stories like this. While working in a casino here in Las Vegas, a herd of girls came to my window and one proceeded to tell me about her great birthday party itinerary that her dad had paid for her 18th birthday, with no adult in the party, just a bunch of teenage girls out in Vegas, where none of them could do anything because none of them were 21. I couldn't even check them into their reservation. They start yelling and screaming at me. I calmly call security, and security tells them that they can either go play in the arcade or leave and try to find a hotel off the strip that will take them in without being 21. The anger turns to tears. The security guard is unmoved. That's your parents' fault. A stupid 18th birthday gift. No joke here. Back in high school, 90s, this kid got a brand new Chevy Camaro. I had an old-ass 80s Pontiac Phoenix that had a straight 6. It was by far not a racing car, but this fool was just looking to brag at what he got compared to the busted cars we got. About 2 days later, while we were waiting at a stoplight, this idiot tries to race us as I am in my car and I pull up with my friend. He does starts by revving it really loud and tries to do a burnout. Mind you, the light was red and the roads were not wet. So he managed to get a tiny burnout going, some smoke and whatnot. When his tires did catch traction, he went barreling into the intersection and smashed the car of the wife of one of the very few cops in my small city. Needless to say, that didn't work out for him very well. At the start of this, I thought you were just explaining the plot of Tokyo Drift with slightly different cars. Don't know if I'm happy you were in bamboozling. At a Starbucks, and she thought apparently people gave her parents free drinks and such for her all these years. Like the cashier told her the total and she said, "Wait, I don't get it for free?" She never realized her parents swiping their cards all those years was paying for her things, I guess. To be fair, my mom, who do not have wealthy parents, thought the same thing when she and her sister snuck off to DQ for ice cream. She was also 5. The kid from my high school came from a well-known family that was very involved in politics. He slacked off in school and was mostly a condescending ass for years. After graduation, he didn't really do anything, but eventually decided to run for office as he had the same name as his father. He won easily because people didn't realize it was the kid. As a state rep, he posted on Facebook about enjoying his women battered rather than plain, and asking to join the Black Caucus because he liked hip-hop. He also dropped a loaded gun on the floor in the middle of a session after fighting for the right to carry a gun in the State House as a responsible gun owner. He kept getting elected despite these issues because his family was well-connected and he had a dedicated following from some political groups. After 6 years in office, he gets busted for soliciting sex from a minor over the internet. When they arrest him for that, they also discover he's been dealing drugs. The worst part is that his family is actually super nice and genuinely made the community a better place, but now they have to deal with all the issues from him. He was an apple that fell very far from the tree. I knew this rich kid from high school that went off to college and partied every single night. His parents found out that he was failing basically all of his classes, so they secretly drove up early one Saturday morning with a spare set of keys to the car they had bought him and just drove off with the car. My parents did this to me in college, but it was because they found out I was living with my boyfriend and they didn't believe in sex before marriage. I thought my car had been stolen. I guess technically it was. Rich guy in our college dorm thought he was untouchable because his dad was some NFL player from the 90s and had not blown all his money yet. He would get freshman girls blackout drunk and then film himself having sex with them and then show all his buddies the next day or so. Well, one buddy was not as close as he thought and went to the RA, who then went to campus police and then real police. It was a fun night watching the parking lot fill up with the bored cops in duty that night and haul his ass out of the dorms while they went and gathered his evidence. That one Instagram model who got caught on video talking shit to a security guard at VidCon. Not only did the guard stand his ground and not let him in because he wasn't famous enough to be given a pass and too rich to just buy one, but once the internet saw the video, the guard ended up with more followers than the kid. Oh, you made it to the end. Smash like and subscribe for more amazing content.